We need to talk about avoidant exes, because dealing with an ex who has the avoidant attachment style can feel like an impossible task. The way that they treat you, it makes you feel like you've already lost them forever. But then they give you glimmers of hope. A message out of nowhere, an unexpected phone call, or a sudden sign of interest. And just when you start to think that you might have a chance, they disappear into thin air. So why is this happening? Well, it comes down actually to your behavior, the things that you're doing and not doing that are causing them to keep their distance. And you need to understand this process or you are going to lose them forever. So let's talk about what you need to do to avoid losing your ex forever. And while we're at it, we'll talk about what you can do to get closer to them. Let's go through this step by step. Many people think that they understand avoidant attachment, but are just really going off buzzwords that don't represent the reality of the situation. It's easy to diagnose anyone who ignores you or treats you badly as having avoidant attachment, but it's not really that at all. Someone with avoidant attachment can be extremely respectful, loving, and affectionate, and someone with secure attachment can really mistreat you horribly. Avoidant attachment is really just a way of describing how somebody responds to intimacy in a relationship with another person. They find intimacy to be stressful, and that affects how they respond to moments of connection and intensity. So positive things like sleeping together for the first time or moving in together, but also negative moments like fights and breakups. Now, these moments will cause them a lot of big feelings, and to avoid dealing with these feelings, they'll make use of avoidance as a strategy. So they'll go cold, they'll pull away, and they'll become distant. And that's really the entirety of what makes an avoidant an avoidant. So don't let anyone tell you that avoidants have to talk to you a certain way, to be rude, or always be extremely independent. All that someone really needs to be an avoidant is a persistent pattern of avoidant behavior towards a romantic partner. Now, of course, there's no denying that this avoidant behavior can have a big impact on the other person and on the relationship generally. And instead of getting the avoidant the space that they want, it really usually only creates confusion and hurt feelings for the both of you. And this creates essentially a negative feedback loop that you may actually be stuck in right now. So here's the typical pattern. Things start off, they're going well. You and your partner grow closer, and you start to rely on one another emotionally. And then they start to feel overwhelmed by that closeness. They feel as though you're relying too much on them, creating expectations about their behavior and making demands of them emotionally that they're not sure that they can actually deliver on. So they pull away from you in some way. Now, this will usually be subtle at first. They'll reply to your messages less often and with less enthusiasm. They'll make you reach out and make plans. They'll be busy more often. And to you, often this feels like rejection. You'll wonder, what went wrong? Did you do something to upset them? Did something change? Are they all right? And there are two typical responses that you're going to have to this kind of situation. Either you're going to ask them for clarification. You're going to say things like, "What's wrong?" or "Are you mad?" Something like that. Or you're going to just try to fix things by closing that distance between the two of you, by getting closer to them. You might message them more, cling on to them, or just otherwise make more demands of them. But as I'm sure you know by now, neither of these responses are going to get you the closeness that you want. They'll just cause your ex to feel even more smothered, more overwhelmed. And that's just going to cause them to pull away from you even further. And then the cycle repeats. And it often gets so bad that it leads to a big fight or even a breakup. Everything maybe seemed totally fine a few weeks ago, and just when it felt perfect, they pulled away and they ruined everything because they couldn't manage their feelings. So now you know why it happened. So how can you reverse the course and win them back? The big reason that relationships with avoidance end this way is because of a mismatch in energy. So when they're pulling away, you're clinging on. When they want space and silence, you want closeness and conversation. And this is what creates the sense of disconnection between the two of you, the feeling that you're never on the same page. And after a breakup, this only really kicks into overdrive. And really, how could it not? Your feelings of loneliness and rejection are at an all-time high after this profound rejection. So you're driven to cling to them like never before. You need to fix things to feel better about yourself. And meanwhile, the breakup causes your ex to feel incredibly overwhelmed by emotions. And so they really want nothing more than to be alone with their thoughts. And they know that the best way to make that happen is by icing you out. Now, don't worry, this is a very, very common pattern that I see every day in my work with my clients. And most of the time, it is fixable. What you need to do is flip the script. Change your own behavior, and you'll change how your ex treats you. And to do that, you have to match their energy. So start by going no contact. Commit to a period of about a month with really no contact of any kind with your ex. No calls, emails, texts, no conversations, hangouts, or dates. No, late night booty calls or random drop-ins. Really nothing, as much as humanly possible, for 30 days or so. Now, often this might sound physically impossible, but let me tell you why it works. It's because your ex doesn't expect it. They think that you're going to continue to reach out to them and bug them. And secretly, that's exactly what they want. Because when you reach out, you give them access to you in a way that's safe. It doesn't require any vulnerability on their part. They know that they can continue to reject you and you'll still be there for them when they need you. But when you go dark the same way they have, they're going to finally start to worry that it really is over. It'll scare the hell out of them to think that they might have actually lost you for good. They'll have to finally face the idea of living a life without you. And they'll see that they've chosen loneliness over connection with someone that they love. They'll see that they're the one who's making this happen, not you. And so inevitably they'll blame themselves. And this is going to cause your ex a lot of pain. But these feelings were inevitable when they chose to end the relationship. And by going no contact, you're just speeding up the process. And this way, they feel these feelings now when the two of you are still connected rather than, a year from now when there's no real chance of reconciliation. Now, I realize this is going to be a difficult move to make, but after working with tens of thousands of clients over the past 15 years, I can say that it truly is the best thing you can do to win back an avoidant ex. But that's not all you have to do, because during this time apart, you need to be working hard to shift your own emotions too. And that brings us to step 3. So one of the biggest things that scares an avoidant away is the feeling that they have to be responsible for your emotional well-being. And when you react to their distance by becoming clingy, you're only further validating that fear. So if you want to reconnect with your avoidant ex in a way that can actually last for the long term, you need to start by creating emotional independence. Emotionally independent people don't rely on others for happiness, validation, or security. Sure, they care about other people and they want them in their lives, but they could make it on their own if they really needed to. And developing emotional independence is a long journey, but this breakup is actually going to be a very valuable opportunity to make some strides in the right direction. Because you're going to be spending a lot of time alone without your ex, so you're going to have to learn to take care of your own problems and find an inner confidence that will allow you to go on. Now, if you don't know where to start, I recommend that you think about just some self-improvement. Things like working out, running, eating healthy. Those can all be great for your physical health, but they're also going to do wonders for your emotional health as well. And that's because they require a lot of self-control. And the more you exercise self-control, the more confidence you gain in your own abilities. Because the difficult emotions that you're facing really drive you to do the exact opposite. And when you give in to those bad feelings, that's when you feel compelled to order a pizza, sit on the couch, and just sink into depression. But if you can fight those feelings, hit the gym, eat a balanced diet, go on with your day, then you've taken one more step towards emotional independence. Another pillar of emotional independence is handling your own problems internally. Sure, there's no harm in turning to a partner, a friend, family member to vent or to help you talk out an issue. But every time you stub your toe, you reach out to your phone to call your mom, you're not really building emotional independence. You're building codependence. So do your best to really look inward for answers. Learn to trust your own judgment. And you're going to see that you don't need other people to solve your problems for you. And when you really do achieve this, your ex is going to be able to sense it. Because when you lack emotional independence, it shows itself in subtle ways that you probably really never be able to control. And when you have it, it's obvious to everyone around you that you can stand on your own 2 feet, really no matter what happens. And this kind of confidence is attractive, right? And it's also vital to rebuilding a relationship with an avoidant. Now, so far, this video has been all about understanding your ex's psychology. But what if you could go deeper without even breaking no contact? Well, that is exactly why I created my free quiz that you can take for yourself at breakupbrad.com/quiz. I designed it to answer the lingering questions that you have about your breakup and give you some real insights on what to do next to win back your ex. And most importantly, it's going to tell you what your chances are of actually making it happen. Again, that's breakupbrad.com/quiz. Take it now for free. It's totally confidential and takes less than 5 minutes. The thing about avoidance is that they often feel like they're being pressured by their partners. And in a real way, they are. They connect with you, they make you interested and offer love and affection, and then they keep you at a distance. So it's no wonder that you take steps to try to get that closeness that they've been sort of dangling in front of your face. But this creates a pattern where you're always the one pushing things forward, asking for more. So whether they give into your demands or push you away, they're reacting rather than acting. And when you're stuck in a reactive state like that, you feel like you lack agency and control. So give your ex the chance to make some moves here. Once no contact is over, you might have to make the first move just to begin the conversation, but then you really need to allow them even some more space. Let them reach out to you. Let them make plans and try to reconnect. It may take a little longer than you want for them to actually bridge that gap, but the connection is going to be way stronger because it isn't forced. The pressure that they felt from you in the past is going to evaporate when they realize that they have a choice in how this relationship develops. And since that pressure was driving the fear that broke you up, the two of you are just going to naturally come together with very little effort. I promise you, the work that you do now is going to pay dividends. By giving your ex space, by developing emotional independence, and making them feel like getting back together is their idea, you'll draw them towards you and really dispel all their fears. And they'll begin to see that they have every reason to reconnect with you and no reason not to. And that brings us to the end of this video. Remember, avoidant attachment isn't a death sentence for your relationship, even if you've been through a breakup already. You do have a chance when it comes to reconnecting, but you also need to keep your ex's personality in mind if you want them to want to be with you again. Thank you so much for watching, for liking, subscribing, and leaving me comments. I appreciate all of your support, and I'll see you next time right here.